Welcome back, everybody. Today we're here to talk about some stills we got for The Walking Dead Season 9 Episode 14. These stills look to be all part of the flashback portion of the episode, so I'm pretty excited to talk about it. So with that being said, let's just get started. Also, Skybound did a fan mailbag where they answered some fan questions, and they had like a few things in there that I found really interesting that ties into what we're discussing in this video. So I'm going to talk about that later on. But let's start off with these images, starting off with this one where we see pregnant Michonne, which is pretty cool because we haven't had an HD version of this yet. Two of these are pretty much the same ones. This one's more HD. But notice what she's wearing, because some of these images don't give us that much, but if you take a look at what they're wearing, it is pretty interesting because in other promos and stuff we got, they're all over the place with outfits. So I think this episode is going to be jumping around a lot. And then moving along quickly, we have this shot right here of Michonne, and she has some blood on her head. And look at what she's wearing. I believe we're going to talk more about the outfits I said in a second because they're all over the place with that. And I think it's kind of telling us like where they're going to be in the timelines. But I believe this is going to be present day because it is kind of similar to this shot right here, or this shirt I should say. And this is from some image they released a long time ago. No explanation, they just randomly released this in a promo. But we have Michonne and Judith crying, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be from this episode. And then we got a still of Daryl here with his crossbow, and then another one, and I'm pretty sure those are the exact same photo. I don't know why they do that. They did the same thing last week, where they released like two images of Connie and Daryl, the same exact pose, but one was more HD than the other. Like same thing is going on here. But anyways, and then we have this one, which is pretty cool, and him in a classroom obviously looking for something, and I believe this is gonna be a flashback also. Alright, going back to Michonne, so I looked at all the promos and stuff we got for this episode, sneak peeks, opening minutes, all that kind of stuff, and I noticed some interesting things about you know, her outfits and also Daryl's outfits, which I think is gonna tell us about a little bit about what might be going on here. So back to this first one that I showed you guys. She has a yellow jacket on and a scarf, right? And then we have this one, like I showed you, she's wearing something different, which I said is similar to this one. And then we have that yellow jacket and the scarf. That's a very similar outfit to this one right here, where we see in the opening minutes she's talking to Daryl, but she doesn't have the scarf. So I think that is going to be a different scenario going on. The opening minutes also does a couple of changes in the outfit, like within 3 minutes, which is just super weird to me. So when the opening minutes pick up, right, we have Michonne in a muscle shirt where she finds Rick's cold python, and then we have her in a button up with, you know, a t-shirt, and she has the cold python on her belt. And then we have the one when she's talking to Daryl. And now these two could be the same image, I don't know for sure, but this one looks more bluish, and then the other one when she's talking to Daryl looks more like grayish. So those could be the same image, but still I feel like it could be different. So in the beginning with the muscle shirt, I believe that's gonna be like just like a few days after the bridge explosion, like a few weeks at most, because they probably went to go, like they probably followed the blood like right after that explosion because he was bleeding a lot. Also in this shot of her in the muscle shirt, she doesn't have the belly bomb, so that's obviously gonna be like early on. And then when it does that cut, I think that's gonna be like, you know, Michonne and Daryl going back every couple of weeks, every couple of months to look for him. So when it comes to present day Michonne, that's when I said this photo I think comes into play because of that, you know, shirt she's wearing is very similar to this shirt. Where she's screaming looking for Judith, and then she's crying and when she found Judith. So that is obviously present day, and I think that ties into the present day story in the beginning of, or like the sneak peek we got when Daryl and Judith were talking, and Judith asked like about Hilltop and wants to go help Hilltop. She probably is gonna leave or something, and then, you know, Michonne is gonna freak out and go look for her. And then going back to Daryl, so this is what he was wearing when he's in that classroom, and he's obviously like hunting down somebody, and I think this may be related to the X scars. We're gonna have to wait and see. But then look at what he's wearing in this the opening minutes when he's talking to Michonne about Rick. So they're very similar clothing because of the vest, but to me, the one when he's in the classroom looks to be different because it looks to have a lot more layers. So I do think it's going to be a different timeline. I mean, Daryl pretty much wears the same thing forever, so it's hard to tell with Daryl, you know, how much time has passed because he wears the same thing forever, and he looks the same. Like right here, he's talking to Judith, his sleeves are cut, so obviously this is a different timeline. And I think essentially we're going to be in like 3 or 4 different timelines for the episode, depending on how you want to look at it with the X scars. Like, I don't know when that's going to come into play, so I don't know exactly when that's going to be into it. But we got the present day timeline, we got after Rick blew up the bridge, like immediately after, you know, like maybe a few days, and then we got a few months after when, you know, Michonne's pregnancy is showing. So we got 3 timelines for sure, maybe 4 depending on the X scars and whatever group, you know, they dealt with or something, because I don't know if that's going to come into play, you know, during which timeline it's going to come into play. Like, is it going to be before Michonne was showing or afterwards or during? I think it's going to be during, like when she is her pregnancy is showing. So I think it's going to be 3 timelines. So we got a lot of Daryl and Michonne stuff going on in this episode, obviously, and I'm not expecting to see anybody else. Pretty much only Daryl, Michonne, Judith, and some Alexandrians, because I don't think they have room to throw in Hilltop or Kingdom or anything like that in this episode. And going into Skybound's fan mailbag, somebody asked them saying, is there any Daryl and Michonne friendship moments in these last 3 episodes? And they said, and I quote, 1000%. In fact, most of 914 focuses around Michonne and Daryl's friendship. So friendship is obviously very important there. And then also somebody asked them about the X scars, and they said, what is the scar on Daryl's back? And they said, just wait till Sunday. But that's not what I want to talk about. They actually posted a good side-by-side of Michonne and Daryl's scars. And yeah, as you can see, they're pretty much on the same exact spot, which I think that tells me, at least for me, I feel like they gave each other the scars just for remembrance of something. It could be Rick, or it could be like maybe they felt guilty and they did it to themselves. And Norman Reedus said on The Talking Dead that the X scars are between them. So for me, at least, that tells me that they gave each other the scars. Because if somebody else gave them the scars, like it was like a brand or something, why would they not tell other people? Like, are they embarrassed about it? Like, I feel like, you know, and it looks like they probably did something really bad, like kill like whatever group came into Alexandria. Because in the sneak peek from The Talking Dead, Michonne was talking to Lydia and said that I've done stuff to keep this group safe that I'm not proud of. So what could that be, you know, other than killing people to save your loved ones? So like, if a group branded those two, you know, why they would probably tell the Alexandrians like they branded us, so we killed them. Simple. But you know, I don't think, you know, whatever group came to Alexandria, I feel like they might have been a bad group and they didn't trust them, or, you know, maybe Daryl and Michonne weren't in the right mindset. Like maybe this happened early on, like maybe a couple weeks after, you know, Rick left. That's why I'm like a little bit at odds with this 4th timeline. Like I don't know when this is going to happen throughout the 6-year time jump. Is it going to be like super early? Is it going to be like in the middle or towards the end? I think it's going to be super early, because right now it looks like Michonne knows what she's doing and she knows not to trust people, and they have that whole council. So, you know, I think it happened early on. This group came in. Michonne and Daryl probably weren't in the right mindset. They didn't trust these people. And then, you know, they probably, and for me, I'm going to go out and say it, I feel like they just like executed everybody, and then Daryl kind of went on his own. And then as a result of maybe feeling guilty or just punishing themselves, they probably gave each other the scars. And that's the most, I mean, Michael Cudlitz, who plays Abraham, he said it's a very fucked up story, and he directed episode 7, so that's why he probably knows it, and that's the episode we found out about Daryl's scar. So, you know, that's the most fucked up thing I can think of. They just probably executed a group and they gave themselves the scars. And then another question that I want to discuss from the fan mailbag is actually a topic we've been discussing a lot on this channel, and I want to share it with you guys. It's about Father Gabriel and Jadis in the helicopter, and somebody asked them like why Father Gabriel hasn't talked to Michonne about the helicopter and Jadis, and, you know, is it like a big plot hole? Because that specific question is something we've been discussing a lot, and you know, this is what they had to say about it. They said, good question. We assume that in the 6-year time jump, Gabe did tell Michonne and the others about his experience with Jadis, but since he doesn't know that Rick survived the blast, he might not have put 2 and 2 together. We'll probably get more clarity in the movies, but don't quote me on that. So I bring up that question because we're heading into like a flashback type episode, and I just want them to discuss it. Like, you know, what they said, the way they answered that question is how we've been, you know, basically assuming also. You know, we're giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying, yeah, Gabriel told Michonne about the helicopter during the 6-year time jump, but we're just giving them the benefit of the doubt. We didn't really see that happen, and they said we're gonna have to wait for the movies, so I guess we're not going to find out in the flashback episode, but this makes sense because I think we are going to get more clarity in the movies. And a lot of people have actually commented this in the comment section on my videos, which is something I love, is that, you know, leading into Michonne's exit, like we know is coming up next season, maybe, you know, Gabriel is messing around with those radios. Maybe we hear Rick's voice on the radios, and then, you know, he puts 2 and 2 together and be like, you guys remember the helicopters I told you about? Yeah, it looks like Rick, you know, went with Jadis. So I think that's when they're gonna bring it up again. But those were the fan mailbag questions that I wanted to discuss with you guys, that I think kind of relates to, you know, this episode. If you guys want to read the whole article, I'll leave it in the description down below. Go ahead and check it out. But I am gonna wrap it up for this video. It looks like this episode, I mean, I just wanted to share these images with you guys because based on the promos and stuff we've been getting, it looks like we're gonna be jumping around a lot with time. So I can't wait for this episode. It looks like a lot of unanswered questions will finally be answered. Leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like rating, and for more Walking Dead content just like this, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys later.